So guys, after seeing how different parts of India receives rainfall differently, let us see seasons, where we need to understand how temperature fluctuation will be there in different times and in different periods. How do you get good rainfall? For example, let me take summer season in India. That is when you start from March to April or June. Whenever we talk about this particular period, you will not observe much rainfall, but there will be some rainfall associated with the movement of the sun. So which are these rainfalls? Cyclones you observe. So what are these actually which comes during this particular time? So what we will be doing in the seasons is, we will try to see how exactly different parts of India is affected over a period of year. We saw monsoon and withdrawal of monsoon, but now we need to see how exactly seasons are going to change. Internationally, when we are considering the classification, then we would straightforward say that India comes under monsoonal type of rainfall. What is the reason for this? Very simple. As we are aware, the word monsoon comes from mausam, which means reversal of winds. Which are the two winds which we saw? One is the northeast trade winds, which usually covers India, is now covered by southwest trade winds, which carry winds from Bay of Bengal and also Arabian Sea on to India, right? This is what we see. This reversal is actually called as monsoons. So India is one of the important areas in the world which usually observe monsoon type of climate. Second important thing you need to observe is, along with India, you have ASEAN countries as well, Indo-China we say. Even these areas comes under monsoon type of climate. So after these two, when we actually talk about China, especially the eastern part of China also gets different type of rainfall. That is what we call temperate monsoon. What is the meaning of monsoon? First important thing, reversal of winds. So if the reversal of winds is happening in the tropical region, we call it tropical monsoons. If the reversal takes place in the temperate region, that is above 23.5 degree, then we call it to be temperate monsoons. So China comes under temperate monsoon, India comes under tropical monsoons. India, Indochina and some parts of Australia comes under this tropical monsoons, right? So India is under tropical monsoons. This is what UPSC usually asks you. So please be careful about it. Then the second important thing that we need to observe is with respect to the cold weather season. So let us say from when this actually begins. To be frank, once the complete withdrawal of monsoon takes place, that is retreating of monsoon is complete, then we will usually observe the cold weather season starting. The other meaning of this is, you will see sun's rays falling on Tropic of Capricorn, that is on the southern hemisphere. In southern hemisphere you will see summer, in the northern hemisphere you are observing winter. So now usually when we talk about the northern India, it starts from November and it will end till Feb. The reason you are aware, that is, you know that retreating of monsoon begins quickly in Punjab, Haryana and all. So there you will usually observe winter starting soon. December and January are the coldest months in the northern part of India. Second important thing, the temperature decreases from south to north. What is the meaning of this? If you take Thiruvananthapuram or Chennai, usually the temperature will be around 25 to 30 degree, because it is peninsular and you will see oceanic influence present on that as well. Whereas whenever we are talking about the North India, it may actually reduce from 0 to 5 degree, that is from south to north it is decreasing. Please remember guys, UPSC questions consider the following statements with respect to cold weather season, where they will give you during this time temperature decreases from south to north. In summers it will be opposite, so please be careful, you get confused with these terms. The average temperature of Chennai will be around 24 to 25, whereas in the northern plains it is from 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. Days are usually warmer and nights will be cold during winter. We usually observe frost, fog most commonly, which actually leads to cancellation of flights. Railways will be affected, usually transportation will be affected during this particular time. During this season, the northeast trade winds prevail over the country. You know that retreating monsoon means winds are moving from northeast to southwest, right? It is moving in this direction. So we usually consider winds on the basis of origin, so we call it northeast trade winds. They blow from land to sea, hence most part of the country do not receive rainfall. But as I have told you, when you consider Tamil Nadu, usually they receive rainfall because they are moving from Bay of Bengal towards Tamil Nadu, so they give rainfall. This is one of the reasons why Kaveri Basin is also called as evergreen basin, that is, it receives rainfall throughout the year. First through southwest monsoons, through the Palakkad gap, and then northeast also gives rainfall to that. In the northern part of the country, a feeble high pressure region develops with light winds moving outwards from this area. Usually you know that if you have high pressure, winds blow from high pressure to low pressure, winds usually blow from land to sea. So it is offshore winds and it doesn't give you rainfall at all. Now, the weather is normally marked by clear sky, low temperatures, low humidity, feeble variable winds. In 11th standard physical geography NCERT book, when you will be talking about inversion of temperature, what are the conditions because of which there will be inversion of temperature? If the question is there, the reason is this. What is the meaning of inversion of temperature? We all know that in troposphere, as you move from the ground higher above, usually temperature decreases. This is the reason you usually go to mountains during summer, because temperature decreases. Inversion of temperature means with increasing height, temperature increases. Usually, whenever days are less, nights are longer, the sun's rays falling on the land will be less. Because of this, the earth radiates energy and earths become too cool. And when the earth becomes cool, the air which is in contact with the earth will also become cool. But the layers above this will be bit warmer. The meaning of this is land is at 0 degree and the wind closer to that will be at 5 degree, and above that you may see 10 degree. Can you see 0, 5, 10? The meaning of this is temperature is increasing, so we call it inversion of temperature. What are the reasons for this? You should usually see clear sky, that is, clouds should not be there. If you have clouds, clouds usually absorb the earth's radiation. Whenever they absorb the earth's radiation, they emit it back to the earth. Again they absorb it. Because of this, the heat will be present in the earth itself. It is not escaping. When the heat doesn't escape, the biggest problem is the temperature will be more. This is what we call greenhouse effect. So here we are talking about inversion of temperature, that is, as there is no clouds, whatever earth absorbs, earth radiates completely. It escapes. So no one is holding the heat. Because of this, temperature will be usually cool, and it will be cooler closer to the ground, and as you move above, the heat increases or warm air increases. Because of this, we see inversion of temperature. This characteristic is very, very important. What is the reason? The reason for this is, see guys, I have already told you about this. You have cold water below and warm water above. Second circumstance, warm water below, cold water above. In this case, warm is lighter, it moves up, cold is heavier, it comes down. That is mixing, convection takes place. But when we are talking about this particular case, that is warm is above, cool is below. This is denser, it will be here, warm is lighter, it will be here, stable condition exists. Even on the earth, when you have stable conditions, vehicles, whenever they release air, smoke into the atmosphere, usually you will observe some sort of pollutants being present in the atmosphere, and it does not allow the pollutants to mix or go out. So, see, in this condition what happens? Whenever I release pollutants, the pollutants go above, they mix in the atmosphere. But here, whenever I release, it will be present within this particular layer. Whenever it is present within that layer, then usually we observe gas chamber formation in North India, especially in cities where pollution is more. Delhi becomes gas chamber in winter. What is the reason for that? Because there is inversion of temperature. Guys, please be careful about these factual informations. Then, the second most important thing that we usually observe is, there will be some cyclonic disturbances, that is, some disturbances will be usually seen near Mediterranean Sea and Western Asia, and these, they usually move into India. Because of this, usually northwestern part of India receives rainfall during winter. I have already explained about this, but here if we are actually looking into it again, what I am trying to say here is, the low pressure would have shifted below equator. Now you have high pressure somewhere near Madhya Pradesh. Above this, you have westerly winds. I hope you remember. You have high pressure, so winds, low pressure will be at 50 to 55. High pressure to low pressure, northern hemisphere, winds blow in this direction. Whenever winds blow in this direction, from Mediterranean Sea, Caspian Sea, they borrow some moisture and they give rainfall in this particular region. So this region gets rainfall mainly because of the cyclonic disturbances which you observe in the Mediterranean Sea. Very, very important for you, right? So you should remember that in winter, usually northwestern part of India receives rainfall from the Mediterranean Sea. In the basic classes, I have explained it in detail, but still I am repeating it here so that it will be a revision for you. They cause the much needed winter rains over the plains and snowfall in the mountains. Because of this, usually rabi crops are grown. It is very much important for the growth of wheat crop. The reason is, wheat, while you sow, you need some rainfall. When it grows, it requires cool temperature, and when you harvest it, then it actually needs some rainfall. So harvesting season is Feb, when they get rainfall from this Mediterranean Sea. Westerly winds give rabi crops in northwestern parts of India. When we talk about the peninsular region, it is not very cold because the peninsula size is less. Whenever the size is less, the oceanic influence will be more there. Is it fine? So this is what we need to understand. Second important thing that we need to see is the hot weather season. As I have told you, in this NCERT book, concepts will be explained less. Immediately after this book, we will be taking 11th standard. There again we will be seeing the same facts, so it will be easy for you to correlate quickly. In the hot weather season, which actually starts from March to May, usually we observe that there will be shifting of heat belt, or I would say ITCZ shifts northward. Wherever you have ITCZ, it is a low pressure, and usually you observe convection rainfall present in that particular region, right? In April, temperature in Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh are around 42 degrees Celsius. In May, it reaches to 45 degrees Celsius, right? So it's very, very important for us to look at this. The summer months experience rising temperature and falling air pressure in the northern part of the country. High temperature leads to low pressure. Towards the end of May, an elongated low pressure area develops in the region extending from Thar Desert in the northwest to Patna and Chotanagpur Plateau in the east. What is the reason for this? ITCZ would have been on this particular area. So I am giving you the reasons. I am reading out the statements. I hope you are understanding. So I am giving the reasons for that. Now, a striking feature called as Lu. You have to know that there are some local winds. You have seen global winds in the form of trade winds, westerlies, polar easterlies. We are talking about hot winds. When I am talking about hot winds, I am actually talking about the Lu. What is the meaning of hot winds? These are local winds present in a particular time because of some high pressure and low pressure variation. In North India, this is called as Lu, and because of this, several people die. So this is dangerous. Direct exposure to these winds may even prove to be fatal. Dust storms are very common during the month in North India, but when we actually see, these storms bring temporary relief as they lower the temperature and might bring light rain and cool breeze. These winds, whenever they blow, they usually give some sort of coolness to them. So this is also the season for localized thunderstorms. Why? Whenever you see convectional rainfall, cumulonimbus clouds will be formed, and cumulonimbus clouds will give this rainfall. We have already seen, right? So this is very, very important for you. Different areas give different names to this rainfall which is occurring during this. These are also called as pre-monsoon rainfall in geographic term. It is called as Kal Baisakhi in West Bengal. In areas where mangoes are grown, this help in ripening of mangoes, we call it mango showers. In Karnataka, it is also called as cherry blossoms. So all these facts are asked in UPSC in the form of match the following, so please be careful. Then we need to look at advancing monsoon. Very, very important. So monsoon season, you know it starts from June, I have already explained. The low pressure condition over the northern plains intensify. It attracts the trade winds from southern hemisphere, and it crosses and forms blow in a south westerly direction, entering into Indian peninsula as southwest monsoon. These winds are strong and blow at an average velocity of 30 km per hour. No need to remember much. The inflow of southwest monsoon into India brings about total change in the weather. Early in the season, the windward side of the Western Ghats receive more rainfall. The Deccan Plateau and Madhya Pradesh also receive some rainfall in spite of lying in the rain shadow area. What is the reason? Gaps and Vindhyas and Satpuras. They play a very important role. The maximum rainfall of this season is received in the northeastern part of the country. You know Mausin Ram, which is in the southern ranges of Khasi Hills. I want you to mark it in your atlas. Mausin Ram, which is present just below Khasi Hills in Meghalaya. And they get rainfall because of the funneling effect which we have already seen. Rajasthan and parts of Gujarat get scanty rainfall. Why? You know that it moves parallel to the Aravallis. Then another phenomena associated is breaks in the rainfall. You all have observed that whenever monsoon comes throughout the year, there won't be rainfall. 15 days there will be heavy rainfall, and for 15-20 days there won't be rainfall at all. This is what we call breaks in the monsoon. It has wet and dry spells. In other words, monsoon rains take place only for few days at a time, and they are interspersed with rainless intervals. This is very, very important. Then, for various reasons, the trough and its axis keep on moving northward or southward, which determines the spatial distribution of the rainfall. Wherever low pressure is more, there you usually observe that the temperature or rainfall will be more. So if you have low pressure area near Himalayas, then rainfall will be more there. If low pressure area is there on Ganges plain, then the rainfall will be more there. This year it was more in Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, so the rainfall was more. Bihar saw floods because of low pressure area developed there. So whenever this low pressure moves above and below, we usually observe this particular phenomena. When the axis of the monsoon trough lies over the plains, rainfall is good in these parts. I told you, wherever the low pressure area is there you usually observe high rainfall. On the other hand, whenever the axis shifts closer to the Himalayas, there are longer dry spell in the plain and widespread rain occur in the mountainous catchment areas. Because of this, rivers which are originating in this mountainous region will cause devastating floods, but in some areas there won't be rainfall and there you will see droughts. Why in few areas you get heavy rainfall and in few areas no rainfall? Because of this reason. These depressions form at the head of Bay of Bengal and cross over the mainland. The depressions follow the axis of monsoon trough. The monsoon is known for its uncertainties because sometimes the dry spell will be more and sometimes the wet spell will be more. So guys, this is very, very important. Then let us see retreating monsoon during October and November. With the apparent movement of the sun towards the south, the low pressure trough over northern plains become weaker and they move towards Tropic of Capricorn, and this will be usually replaced by high pressure systems, right? High pressure on land and low pressure on water. Usually northeast trade winds will be present. The months of October and November form a period of transition from hot rainy season to dry winter conditions. Very, very important for us. While day temperatures are high, night are cool and pleasant. Owing to the conditions of high temperature and humidity, this will be oppressive during the day. We call it October heat. October, don't think it is just before November, so there won't be much heat. October will see high heat because it is in transition period. The low pressure conditions over northwestern India get transferred into Bay of Bengal, and as this low pressure from the northwestern part shifts to Bay of Bengal, usually low pressure is seen in Bay of Bengal, and this also leads to cyclones in Bay of Bengal, right? Can you see? The shift is associated with the occurrence of cyclonic depressions which originate over the Andaman Sea. Andaman and Nicobar, Andaman Sea, there it originates and again it comes to Bay of Bengal and then it hits our Chennai or Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha coast. Very, very important for us to look at this. These tropical cyclones are destructive mainly because they occur in the regions where the density of population is huge. Can you see here? Deltas of Godavari, Krishna and the Kaveri are frequently struck by cyclones. Why? Because the low pressure has shifted to Bay of Bengal. Right? Very, very important. The bulk of the rainfall of the Coromandel coast is derived from depressions and cyclones. Guys, I am just trying to read the statements because I have already told you the basic concepts. Here I am helping you to understand every line. So even if I have left any concepts, then it will be very easy for me to cover so that there is some sort of completeness. Usually I am making you familiar with the language which is present in NCERT, which is usually given in the exam. Distribution of rainfall we need to understand with the help of the picture. So if you see here, Jammu and Kashmir doesn't get much rainfall because you have Himalayan mountain ranges present here. First let us identify the regions which get heavy rainfall. Can you see windward side of the Western Ghats receive heavy rainfall, and I have also told you that the northeast India gets heavy rainfall. Can you see this? Garo, Kasi, Jaintia, Sikkim, where mountains are usually more. Then can you see immediately beside this, on the western side of Western Ghats they get rainfall, and then can you usually observe this particular region which gets rainfall because Palghat Gap, Vindhya Satpura's rainfall will come, Bay of Bengal branch will also give rainfall. So this is also important for us. Then can you see these regions which are just beside Western Ghats? They doesn't get rainfall. As they are parallel to Aravallis, they don't get rainfall. Correct? And again, can you see you have Himalayas here? This is windward side and this is leeward side. So you are not getting rainfall here. Very, very important for us to understand the rainfall patterns. Right? So when we are talking in the peninsula, west of Western Ghats receive heavy rainfall, whereas leeward side doesn't receive much rainfall. At last, I want you to see monsoon as a unifying bond. Please try to read this carefully. UPSC question, how does monsoon unite India? That is, even though places are at different latitudes, or if it is on the same latitude, different areas receive different rainfall, and monsoon blow over entire India and they unite us. Please try to read this. 100 words, very simple and easy. So 10 marks question can come from this. Right guys? So after seeing this, once we are aware of rainfall, it will be very easy for us to actually consider natural vegetation. That is, where which type of crops will grow, or which type of forests are usually present, and which animals are usually present. In 9th standard NCERT book that we are seeing now, it is not given clearly. So I'll just give you some basic information that is required from this book. But immediately when we take 11th standard NCERT book, you will be observing lot of areas where questions can come directly. So let's quickly see this chapter in this book and what is important. So first, some definitions which are important for us. Natural vegetation refers to a plant community which has grown naturally without human aid and has been left undisturbed by the humans for a long time. Whenever there is any natural vegetation which is not touched by human beings, we call it to be virgin vegetation. If human beings are there, then we don't call it to be virgin vegetation, right? So it's very, very important for us. Then what are the things which actually determines this? First important thing, land, right? Land affects natural vegetation directly or indirectly. For example, if you have mountain, the type of forest grown on mountain will be different. For example, with mountains, increasing height temperature decreases. So even though if you are near equator, you will find some plants which are similar to high latitude or like similar to Russian taiga forest, coniferous forest, which are usually present in Russia, can be present in India with increasing height. So mountains, land variety determines what type of crop should be usually grown. Second important thing that we need to see is with respect to soil. Different soils, alluvial soil gives rise to different thing, black soil gives rise to different thing, forests, laterite, all this soils matters. So it's very, very important for us to look at this particular thing as well. Just try to remember, rather than this, when we take 11th standard NCERT book, there will go in detail about this. Whatever we have explained in detail here, there I will be reducing time for that, but whatever I have not explained in detail here, I will be spending more time there. The next important thing is temperature. You know that high temperature will actually lead to different type of climate, and low temperature will lead to different type of climate. So because of this, different areas receive different rainfall. Then, how much sunlight is usually available? If you have mountains, so usually plants, whenever they grow on the other side, right, sun rays is usually less. But if the sun's rays is falling in this direction, and if you have trees present here, they get more sunlight. So the impact here will be different from the opposite side. This is what we say photoperiod as well. Precipitation, you know in which areas you get heavy rainfall, in which areas you get less rainfall. On the basis of that, we also observe different type of vegetation. With all these things, we come to the definition of ecosystem. You already know about this, no need to read about them again. This is the reason I keep telling you, you should know what to leave as well. Now, coming to this most important concept, that is types of vegetation. You have tropical evergreen forests. Can you see this particular picture? Can you see different layers? You have 1.5 meters, shrubs are there 5 meters, young trees 20 meters, canopy layer. In layers, usually trees will be present. Sun rays cannot penetrate to the bottom. Because of this, the vegetation, even if it falls, the bacteria and others are not present and they do not decompose it. So the soil which is grown in this region, or the soil is not very much fertile. Because of this, farming, whenever you see shifting cultivation or slash and burn cultivation, they burn, use the ash as fertilizer, and again they keep moving to new area because the fertility of the soil is very less in this region. And it is called as evergreen because it receives rainfall throughout the year and the leaves never fall. So if leaves never fall, we call it evergreen forest. Very, very important concept, right? So here you will usually observe this in Western Ghats. Why? On the windward side of Western Ghats receive rainfall. Lakshadweep, Andaman and Nicobar islands receive rainfall. If you take an island, whether winds blow like this or winds blow like this, they receive rainfall. Upper parts of Assam and Tamil Nadu coast. Tamil Nadu coast, it receives rainfall from southwest and retreating. Remember, rainfall in the Western Ghats is more. So you get wet evergreen forest there. Rainfall in Tamil Nadu is less. So you get dry evergreen forest there. But as they receive rainfall throughout, we call it evergreen there as well. Wet and dry is associated with amount of rainfall available, right? So usually you see ebony, mahogany, rosewood, rubber and cinchona, which is common here, and no need to remember animals much. Next, we have observed that whenever monsoons come, you get rainfall. Whenever monsoons go out, majority of India doesn't get rainfall. So during this, plants shed their leaves, at least in one particular season. We call it deciduous type of forests, right? These are the most widespread forests of India. If you see, moist deciduous forests are present in the entire country. Once UPSC had also asked you a question, that is, which type of forests are present mostly in India? That is deciduous forests. So where can you see them? You can see in northeastern states, you can see in the foothills of Himalayas, Jharkhand, Western Odisha, Chhattisgarh, even on the eastern slopes, that is leeward side of the Western Ghats. Teak is the most important crop. Bamboo, sal, shisham, sandalwood, care, kusum, arjun, mulberry are important. Please try to remember this particular paragraph. You should know the places. Second, trees. These two are very, very important. We'll be seeing them again and again, but I want you to remember it here as well. The dry deciduous forests are found in areas having rainfall between 100 centimeter and 70 centimeter. These forests are found in the rainier parts of the peninsular plateau and the plains of Bihar and UP. So why? Because Bay of Bengal branch, whenever they are coming, they give some rainfall, and it is the only source of rainfall for this particular region. Again, teak, sal, peepal, neem grow. So I told you, moist deciduous forest where rainfall will be more, dry deciduous forest usually where rainfall will be less. Then you have thorn forests and shrubs. What is the meaning here? It will be on the leeward side and they won't get rainfall at all. You know, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh and Haryana usually sees this particular type of climate. On mountains with increasing height, you get montane type of forests. They can be tropical montane forests or temperate montane forests. If it is in the peninsula, we call tropical. If it is in the Himalayas, we call temperate. Coniferous forests are usually present. We call this type of vegetation to be alpine vegetation. Silver fir, junipers, pines, birches are the most common trees observed in this. Then the most important thing that you usually observe is mangrove forests. These are usually grown in the delta. You have fresh water on the other side, you have ocean water from this side. These two usually combine for the mangroves to grow, right? It is very, very important for us to look at this. It is there in almost all the states. Every state in India usually have some places where mangroves is present. So this is the exception where we say mangroves is present in all the coastal states. Yes. Royal Bengal tiger is very famous, right? In the Brahmaputra delta, you see Sundari trees which are most commonly present. If you can look at these things, it is more than enough. Medicinal plants, if you want, you can see, else they won't ask you, you can leave this. Wildlife, please try to see environment and ecology itself. There are a lot of upgradations and these are useless. The reason for this is it is upgraded, and if you follow this, you will be outdated and you won't get marks. UPSC will ask you current affairs, so this will become useless for you. So please don't look into this. Next important chapter is with respect to population. The data which is given here is of no use. We have to take the present census and try to analyze, which I will be doing in a separate lecture. In YouTube, that particular lecture will be available, and some definitions which are required for you to remember will be covered in 12th standard NCERT book, which gives some proper definitions with respect to population. No need to read this particular thing. Usually we have to observe the different definitions and how it has varied in different parts. We try to cover population with the help of India Yearbook session rather than reading from any other source, because India Yearbook is the official Gazette of India and questions about population usually comes from there. So you need not worry from geography NCERT books to read about this. We will be giving those videos for free on YouTube for you people. Fine. So guys, this NCERT book is done. Let's take quickly 11th standard Indian geography NCERT book now, where the same concepts, let us go in detail and try to understand what is the extra information given there. But my request to you is, before you take up that, I want you to revise this so that whenever I will be explaining the advanced concepts, it will be easy for you. Guys, so let's start with 11th standard NCERT book. So we can end it here, so you can see 11th standard Indian geography NCERT book now.